Hello, welcome back, fellow time travelers and comic book aficionados. I hope that everyone is doing well. In this episode, I want to talk about looking and shopping for comics in the wild or at the local comic book shop, the flea markets, and bargain bin, and going about it with a budget. And I have here with me a $20 bill, and this is what I plan to spend with looking and buying comic books. On a short budget like this, sometimes we might not find a lot of comic books. It could be $20 could easily go toward one book, a key issue, or a few books, but I want to see how much I could spread this bill right here to cover the cost of comics. And join me as we go through a sampling of the comic books that I found. And in the wild, between two comic book stores, I was able to pick up 5 comics, and I'm really excited to show you what I found and some of the variety within that stack. And this first book is truly amazing, one that I thought I would never get my hands on, a true staple in comics with a very recognizable character, and that includes Batman, as the cover shows right here. And this is a Batman annual #2 from 1961. And this book cost me $5 for obvious reasons. And the most obvious is the chips and tears right here, very brittle top. And also multiple staples as I bring the comic close to you, right on the close to the spine, right into here. So the cover was reattached. The square bound binding has a lot of nicks in it. The cover on the back has wrinkles and a lot of dings, if you will. And this is quite a low grade book, but it's complete. It has great artwork by Bob Kane inside of it, and more than 6 stories to tell that are reprinted and compiled into this book. Even though this book is pretty beat up, we have a beautiful cover here by Curt Swan and Sheldon Moldoff, who did a lot with Superman and Batman. And we have these little vignettes into the various stories that are in the book, including an underwater Batman adventure, one where he battles a robot in the planet X. And we'll go through some splash pages and covers here. But for $5, even though the cover is in pretty bad shape, multiple staples, chips everywhere, and also some mending tape that I actually put in once I studied the book. You can see some of those tears in there, and it's pretty cringy, I must say, for any collector that's looking for those 9.8s or those 8.0s. And this, folks, isn't really a CGC episode or grading or anything like that. It's really about the content, the fun of it, and being able to have a story to turn the pages with your own hands and enjoy the comic for the sake of enjoying it there. So despite this mending tape that I put on there, a lot of chips missing, this is a fantastic issue, and it comes as the second annual in the series. So let's take a look. So let's delicately open this book here, so we don't want to damage it more than it already is. And we have a splash page with Batman and Robin underwater in a submarine adventure. They have to stay underwater to survive. Otherwise, if they surface on top, it would mean their demise. So right here, Batman and Robin have to figure out how to apprehend crime going rampant on the surface with their submarine. So Batman takes it upon himself to use the parts of the submarine to create a robot that he sends to the surface to apprehend some criminals. And look at the artwork there. It's just a lot of fun. You get that watery feel, the bogginess of the water. You even have here an aquarium, which is right there where they step into to still stay underwater in a clever way, but to observe the criminals. And you can even see eventually Batman making his way to the surface. Looks to be the Empire State Building, and stopping crime. So 7 stories in total, and a great pull-out calendar for 1962 is in this book. Another splash page is the Lord of Bat Manor, a little Scottish theme right there, as you can see the plaid lettering. And look at the castle and the Loch Ness Monster right on the cover, and of course the Batman logo, which makes for a fun beginning for the story. Scanning some of these pages right here, it's nice to see all that action packed in each frame as the story develops. You can also see Robin fighting a metal armed guard right there in full armor inside the castle with booby traps. So that's what's fun. Batman took some of the fun elements that one would see in movies and TV and incorporate them into the pages of comics. So from underwater adventure to castles to the tribes and Indians and helping on the reservation, we have these great splash pages here, and then working with the Indian chief to help make amends in the situation. Working with the local tribe, they eventually make peace at the end. So it was fun stories, and then right away another story starts right there. This time it's a jungle theme, and observing Bob Kane's artwork right there, it's a lot of fun. So these stories, they're very colorful, and they have a lot of great detail on these pages. Even the way that the rain looks as it falls on the boat, these little circular insets to show crashes and kaboom as a boat is being torn apart. And looking here, this ship about to capsize. So we have a Batman action story and also plain adventure all mixed into one. Get a load of this one right there, Jungle Batman and Robin. That's a funny thing to see there. The elephants and the elephant trunks as well make for more entertainment. Middle stories features Batman as Robin, and they trade roles right there, as this page shows right there, and they take on different roles and even different costumes right there. So it's a cool thing to see the creativity of the writers here and the artists. You could see Robin kind of trying to figure out what's going on, putting clues together just like Batman does. The action continues even toward the end of the book, where we see Batman as a magician right there. Has a turban with a magic stone on top and also a magic hat. And this was just the fun of Batman and the different scenes that he played in. We already saw Batman and Robin underwater, in the jungle, also in a Scottish castle alongside a Loch Ness monster. Now we have them both as a magician right there. Even looking through the pages, you can see them before the red curtain about to perform a magic trick before all chaos breaks loose. These are a lot of fun. Even another splash page that I like features my favorite subject, and that includes robots, and that's right over here from the Planet X. You have this red, gigantic robot, and Batman flying through the air, avoiding laser blasts as a vehicle is being crushed below. So a lot of action-packed pages, a lot of fiery scenes right there, and of course Batman and Robin figuring out the impossible to save the day. But look at the action, a lot of fun, even the robots lining up right there, but they always are no match for Batman and Robin right there. And of course an in-house ad for the Superman annual right there, and this happens to be the fourth issue, as Batman is already on the second issue. And the back cover is a lot of fun too, featuring the Batman family and signed accordingly. So this $5 value brings a lot of fun, even though there are a lot of defects in the book. And lastly, take a look at this calendar right there. That's pretty neat. You have the Joker, iconic characters, the Batlight, and more. So imagine planning your itinerary back in 1962. So we stretched that $20 bill. I was able to find another $5 book, and this time another of Superman issue 193, which happened to be Giant issue number 31 from 1967. And you could see the Cover is a little bit misaligned. It was actually detached. That's why I got it at such a low price. And I mended it together with some mending tape right there, just to keep the book complete. All the pages happen to be intact. They're off-white, more brown colored pages. So it's in a poor condition, but nonetheless a beautiful cover, as it introduces some reprints from Action Comics in the Superman line right there, including the death of Superman. So in 1993, we see the death of Superman, but it actually happened a little bit earlier, and this reprint shows it right there. And all the letters stand for super in the title as an acronym for the stories to come. We even have an introduction of Superman's father, Jor-El, a scientist on Krypton, and Superman looking at old film reels and reminiscing and learning about his father's past. And of course, we have a story featuring Bizarro and Superman, Clark Kent's lost parents. So looking in, I always like looking at the table of contents page that DC embraced us with as we opened up the book in this January-February issue from 1967. Look at a few splash pages. We have here Lex Luthor as a hero, kind of triumphing on top with Superman lifting him up. That's quite a sight, as their bitter enemies. Of course, Lex Luthor finds a devious way to control Superman or create a clone, and that's what happens here, where Superman's doing his bidding. But in the end, Superman prevails and justice follows. The next story is Lex Luthor has a bodyguard, and that is also Superman. That's part 2 of the story, and you can see the manipulation there. And this is pretty neat. Superman's crunching a car right there with a tire falling off. That's action to behold. And, Lex Luthor has Superman under a kryptonite spell, and eventually he breaks loose from it. Third part of the story continues with the death of Superman and the kryptonite green that covers him. And what happens is, even though they're sad and their relatives are mourning his loss, he happens to be a decoy and not really Superman himself, as Supergirl runs into the scene and smashes the decoy and proves that she is there as an imposter, but in a good way, proving that Lex Luthor did not kill Superman. So a quick change of costume, Supergirl jumping in, and the plot quickly changing in DC fashion. Nonetheless, Lex Luthor finds himself going into trial and having to defend himself for his actions that he took. So it wasn't really Superman dying or under the kryptonite spell, but a decoy cleverly placed with Supergirl helping out. An in-house ad for Captain Action right there. There's some great figurines and toys that came out at that time. You could see at the bottom right there a nice little ad for Captain Action, also a DC comic later on. We also have the second story with Superman's lost parents and revisiting that, so kind of bringing in some family ties. Also looking at some fun artwork where Superman is playing tug-of-war on top of a reptilian beast and other things there. So the artwork is always fun. Usually Curt Swan, Sheldon Moldoff on occasion, but Curt Swan is the main artist. Right here we have a beautiful, mesmerizing scene of science fantasy. I always like seeing skyscrapers and vehicles and the traffic as it would be in the future. So this is a great page looking and considering Jor-El, Superman's father, back on Krypton. The first Superman of Krypton, as it reads on the bottom, and we can see some of Superman looking into his past, reading about his father. So it's kind of neat how these issues relate to family in a way. And we just saw Supergirl, which is Superman's cousin. Now we see his father from the past and how he looked back in the day. So we get a glimpse of it. This is reprinted from Action Comics about the mid 200 run is where most of these stories come. One of them is from the later 100 run. I always like seeing skyscrapers and building, and this has that in there too. So other advertisements as well in the back. You can see my taped on cover that I use the mending tissue for, and it's a complete book and another $5 buy. So we've already spent $10. What can we get for a few more dollars? And the third book that I found was from another comic shop, and it happens to be a Marvel comic, and for $5. And that's Avengers issue number 96. It was printed in 1971, and it features the Avengers, particularly Iron Man, Captain America, also the Vision, which you can see on the cover, as well as cameo appearances by Nick Fury and Captain Marvel. So it's a really cool story. It involves Roy Thomas, a great writer during the Bronze Age, as well as artwork by Neal Adams. And I'm going to show you the inside of the book of the detail and the wonder that makes it up. But we have here the Vision very furious with the Skrulls here as the Scarlet Witch, his wife, is captured and he's looking to find her. So who can blame him for that fury? And inside we have the deck of a spaceship inside, and trying to find the coordinates and location of the Skrull Armada in the full force. So as I turn the page just one time, you can see some of that metallic look and space wonder. The Avengers taking the helm, confident, with Captain America in the foreground right there. So it's a time where you get space adventure, and eventually Star Wars comes along in the future. But look at these pages right there. This is the Skrull Armada making their way with a secret plan to eventually destroy Earth, but they don't say what they're thinking about. The Avengers have to use their intuition to figure it out. So just some great artwork. Neal Adams right there with those pencils, and we've seen him from Batman, but now we see him here with the Marvel. Look at the hammer coming through, the heroes flying through the air, Iron Man using his repulsor ray in the typical fashion he does, the glint of the metal on the ship. Just really nice artwork for this issue number 96 right here of the Avengers. I like how the panels are cut. The panels have this little circular way about them, and it really adds to the story. And look at the contrast in the black and white. You would think it's Joe Sinnott, but it's actually Palmer, Weiss, and also Neal Adams contributing to that. And there we have Captain Marvel right there, and Iron Man whizzing by. Such a fantastic juxtaposition of the characters. And I think it's like genius how they came up with these panels like that. We have the Avengers right there looking at the monitor. They see the leader of the Skrulls as they're trying to find out what their plans are. And this great book was $5. Granted, there's a lot of chips and bends in the cover right there, a lot of creases on the top. In a very good condition, or even a finer condition, this would be something like $16 to $25. But I was happy to get this worn copy, well-read copy for $5. And some might call it a low-grade Leo Fine, as the captain usually chimes out, but I'm all about finding great books, key issues on the cheap. And this is one that was great to find right there. And so we already covered 3 books, and we have 2 more left with just $20 being spent. But before I get into the final 2, I want to shed some light on a fellow YouTuber that has a great channel, and his name is Comic Book Deep Dives. And he really dives into it with synopsises and reviews and a very beautiful layout of various key issues in comic books that are of interest to him. And there's quite a few comics books that he reviewed, and his logo is right here. If you see that logo on YouTube, be sure to check it out, and I left the link there below. Comic Book Deep Dives is a very relaxing, nice channel with beautiful, high-quality pictures, as the YouTuber is also a graphic designer. So you get to see the beauty of the artwork, some nice little thumbnails and pictures of where you could deep dive into next. So be sure to check that channel out. It's a lot of fun and one that I recently discovered here in the comic book community. And the final two books that I picked up are this $3 book, Avengers number 214, and right here, Thor issue number 410. And these are Bronze Age goodies. They're in a lot better condition than the ones I showed you before, but on a budget, these stood out and they feature some great artwork, especially the Avengers tackling the Ghost Rider. Wow, we're in for a treat there. And of course, two Doctor Doom. If one wasn't enough, you have two right here, and we'll briefly go through these. And they're available in the wild still on the cheap. I really like how this one opens up with Captain America practicing in the gym, using his shield and fine-tuning his skills. And we see that a lot in the Avengers, especially the early ones that made their debut in the mid-60s. As we get an idea of the different powers and special abilities of the characters, that's what made some of the Avenger books fun. And looking at the artwork, you can see just what I'm talking about as we see Captain America and the others there, including an appearance by the Tigra. So they're on the road and they come across a kind of a hero anti-hero that we know as Ghost Rider, kind of pulling up right alongside. Imagine that if you're driving and all of a sudden you see a flaming skull. It could be none other than the Ghost Rider. You can see the action here with the motorcycle flying off and the attempts of each individual Avenger trying to apprehend him because they had a lead that he was up to no good. One of the best scenes in the book is this one right here, where you have Captain America with his motorcycle and also the Ghost Rider with flames, dodging trucks, jumping off cliffs, and making a narrow escape. And it kind of brings that action to life. We even see Iron Man here kind of getting a burn from the Ghost Rider. Tigra trying to have a chance, but the Ghost Rider is kind of quick to outsmart them. And the title in the page right here, the cover, shows that right there. So this is a great book here from the year 1981 in December. Nice Bronze Age to Copper Age goodie with Ghost Rider. And also the back cover features Legos, which is a lot of fun there. So a nice one, not a very popular book, not one that's commands a lot of attention and money at this time, but it's neat when you see the Avengers kind of going neck and neck with a major character like Ghost Rider. Comic book artist Ron Frenz and also the famous Joe Sinnott as inker have their artwork in this issue of Thor 410, and we're greeted right away by two Doctor Doom from different time periods. And in this story, we have one of the Dooms doesn't have his green capes, and his kind of warning his guards that the original Doctor Doom sees everything. So he's on caution and high alert as the story continues. You can see some of the artwork there and that typical Jack Kirby, Joe Sinnott circles of black contrast right there. So they're using Thor's hammer to create a time rift to slow down time. But some of the Avengers and other heroes are immune to the effects of the time changes, and they're able to sneak in and get a grip on the dictator's evil plan. And we also have an appearance by She-Hulk right here and Hercules in this Bronze Age book right there. And this is from the early 80s, so you can see some of the advertisement also for Nintendo and video games, which actually is kind of around the late 80s. And some of the artwork there with She-Hulk smashing drones and robots, the Hercules being caught up but about to make quick work of them, flipping them like with a somersault. So this is a great picture right there. This is already in the late 80s, but this is reminiscent of the 1960s Fantastic Four fights. You see the glows and the battle as the two Doctor Dooms face off. So it's nice to see a little bit of the old school and this newer school Copper Age book right here. And this one was only for a couple bucks. And just happy to have it all here to add to the collection. And Thor rightfully gaining back his hammer and stopping the time device, and the original Doctor Doom claiming back his victory while the other one retreats and goes into hiding. So again, we have the back cover and Thor for a $2 fine. And thank you for watching this episode. A little different. It's more of a low-budget comic book haul, if you will, as that's popular on YouTube. But I wanted to do one of my own and show you some of the books that I picked up for $20. Very low-grade annuals right here, and better grade Bronze Age books too. So if you're not looking for the most pristine books, you can get more bang for your buck as right here. As always, thanks again for watching. Leave a comment below on some of your low-grade finds that you like, or if you restore comic books or just like to find complete books. Let me know. I always enjoy the discussion, and I thank all of those who leave comments in the past and also in the future. Thank you from Leo here at Time Travel Comics.